Throughout my life, I've weathered the storm of disdain, clinging on despite the relentless disapproval. As a mother, I felt it was my solemn duty to shield my child until they could stand on their own. But today, as Sam donned his graduation cap, I made the difficult choice to depart from my family. Despite my efforts, the weight of resentment and animosity persisted. Yet I persisted under the guise of motherhood and wifely obligations. However, those days are now behind me, and I've broken free from the confines of familial expectations. As I broke the news to Sam over the phone, I sensed his stunned silence. It marked the first instance where I stood my ground against perpetual criticism. However, his reaction mattered little, for we were no longer bound by the ties of family. My name is Maya, a 45-year-old housewife, residing with my husband Luke and our son Sam. Sam, at 18, was on the brink of graduating high school, an occasion that should have been cause for jubilation. Yet my joy was tainted by Sam's demeanor. "Where's my shirt? You didn't steal it, did you?" he barked one day as I folded laundry. Retrieving his shirt from the basket, I handed it over, only to be met with his unwarranted anger. "You're so inefficient. Can't you put the shirt in my room while I'm sleeping? Don't make me ask for it," he snapped, his words piercing my heart. Helpless, I could only offer apologies, devoid of any retort. Satisfied, Sam issued a warning. "If you make me angry again, I won't forgive you. Next time, I'll kick you out of the family." His contemptuous behavior had begun 13 years earlier, when he was just 5. From using foul language to displaying defiance, Sam's demeanor had only deteriorated over time. Luke dismissed it as a phase, attributing it to the influence of cartoon villains, a sentiment that offered little solace in the face of relentless hostility. I made the decision to observe and occasionally guide Sam's behavior, aiming for a balance between correction and understanding. Unfortunately, my efforts seemed to backfire, and Sam's conduct only deteriorated. The scarcity of "thank you" in his vocabulary became more noticeable than his outbursts, making meaningful family conversations an elusive prospect. Time marched on, and now, as Sam turned 18, I stumbled upon a conversation between him and Luke 3 days ago. Shockingly, I discovered Sam's college plans post-graduation, a decision he hadn't bothered to discuss with me. It became evident that Sam leaned heavily on Luke, their camaraderie evident in their outings together. Perhaps, I thought, it was easier for men to communicate with each other. Yearning for acceptance as a family member, I harbored a deep desire to experience the joys of a harmonious family life. However, that dream remained elusive, and the pain was akin to my heart tearing apart. It wasn't just Sam pushing me away. Even Luke harbored disdain. He criticized me openly, labeling me as stupid and highlighting perceived shortcomings in my role as a housewife. Luke's attitude toward me had changed drastically since Sam's behavior took a negative turn 13 years ago. Initially, we shared household responsibilities, with Luke advocating that being a housewife didn't mean shouldering all the housework. However, after Sam's birth, Luke's active involvement waned, and he gradually withdrew from both parenting and domestic tasks. Attempts to discuss my feelings with him only led to implications that I wasn't trying hard enough. Luke's criticisms, like "you can't even clean properly," and "you haven't grown at all as a wife," echoed in my mind. Apologies and promises to improve fell on deaf ears, as Luke believed that I never made progress. The weight of his words added to the stress of not connecting with Sam. Realizing that Luke, too, saw me as undeserving of the role of a wife or family member, I felt on the verge of collapse. I endured this torment for 13 long years, teetering on the brink of breaking. I saw myself as a mother, a wife, constantly convincing myself that I must do what's necessary. I pushed myself to the brink, ignoring exhaustion and forcing my tired body to keep moving. The fear of becoming obsolete to Luke and Sam haunted me, pushing me to continue despite my limitations. As Sam's high school graduation approached, I only learned the date 3 days before the ceremony. Luke, while doing chores, asked about the clothes for the event, and I confessed my ignorance about the date. It turned out Sam had informed Luke a week prior, leaving me once again out of the loop. The reality of exclusion had become a painful daily norm for the past 13 years. Unable to recover from the constant shocks, I was looking down when Sam, with no school that day, emerged from his room. He chided me for spreading gloom, blaming me for the somber atmosphere. However, it was Sam's fault for not informing me about the graduation date in the first place. Confronting him, I learned that the ceremony was in 3 days, and his response was dismissive, claiming I wasn't going anyway, deeming me an embarrassment. His words, refusing my attendance at the graduation ceremony, pierced my heart. Despite being treated as an outsider, I had always celebrated Sam's academic achievements. Now I was denied even the right to witness his graduation. Silenced by his harsh words, I realized my heart had reached its limit long ago. On the day of Sam's high school graduation, Luke and Sam left for the ceremony without me. Sam had expressed his desire for Luke to be there, leaving me behind. Enduring this reality was no longer an option. As soon as they left, I packed my belongings and departed for my parents' house. Convinced that I could no longer endure life as part of Sam and Luke's family, I planned to take a break at my parents' house and prepare to sever ties with them. Leaving behind a letter at home, I expressed my consideration of divorce and the desire to live independently. I mentioned the need to discuss details through a lawyer, a challenging task within the 3-day time frame. Selling the house, which was inherited from my father, added to the list of tasks. My dad, a wealthy businessman, had gifted us the house as a wedding present. However, knowing my predicament, my father would likely decide to sell it, deeming the house unnecessary to Luke and me. In the letter, I clearly stated that the house would be sold, and I encouraged them to take whatever belongings they needed and vacate within a week. While my dad praised me for this decision, I wanted to preemptively address any potential complaints. For now, I'd opted to stay at my parents' house, seeking refuge while I severed ties with my family and began the process of healing from the wounds they had inflicted. It required considerable courage to make this decision, and I felt indebted to my dad, who reacted with anger upon hearing my story, vehemently condemning the mistreatment. Relaxing at my parents' house after such a day, my mobile phone indicated an incoming call. Though I anticipated it was Sam, I checked anyway, confirming my suspicion. Perhaps he called about my absence mentioned in the letter. Honestly, I didn't feel inclined to engage in conversation. After enduring years of being treated as less than family, I lacked the generosity to deal with Sam. However, I recognized the need to confront the past instead of running away, resolving not to let my heart remain unresolved. Answering the phone, Sam's loud and panicked voice demanded to know my whereabouts. He expressed disbelief at the letter and insisted I return home immediately. I couldn't help but smile at his desperation, though he was too consumed by anger to notice. Responding to Sam, I played along, questioning who he was. Sam, confused by my words, began laughing, attempting to dismiss my actions as bad news and accusing me of an inability to live without relying on family. Despite his unpleasant words, I detected a slight tremor in his voice, realizing Sam was also out of his depth. He continued blaming, criticizing, and trying to panic me into returning. Responding calmly, I declared that I didn't have a family, emphasizing that Sam and Luke were not my family. I challenged the notion of family, stating that true family should support and help each other, something Sam and Luke neglected for 13 years, claiming their mistreatment was normal. Enduring 13 years surprised me, fueled by a sense of duty stemming from giving birth to Sam. Despite not being treated as family, the unshakable fact that I am Sam's mother by blood kept me going. I resolved to wait until his high school graduation, hoping that if Sam changed his attitude, I might reconsider cutting ties and continue as a family. However, recalling Sam's demeanor just 3 days before the ceremony made it clear that my expectations were not met. Convinced it was time to take an appropriate stance, I asserted that Sam was no longer my family, relieving me of any obligation to treat him as one. Sam, finally grasping my intentions, urged me to stop the act, insisting that we are family. He questioned the seriousness of selling the house, expressing concern about losing our residence. Remaining resolute, I dismissed his pleas, even as he begged me not to call it a joke and emphasized that he thought the house belonged to his dad, not realizing it was a family inheritance. I coldly told him not to call again, standing firm in my decision. Frustrated, Sam reached his limit and declared that he would involve Luke. Soon, Luke came on the phone, his voice filled with anger, urging me to return home immediately. He couldn't accept what I had done, accusing me of playing around and questioning if I thought I could be forgiven for abandoning my family. Luke's words, rapid and furious, were accompanied by Sam's voice in the background, encouraging him. It no longer mattered to me how angry they were. I reiterated that I was no longer their family, expressing my refusal to act like one after being ignored for 13 years. My words were harsher than I anticipated, fueled by the resentment of their selfish actions. Despite my efforts to be a family, they never treated me as one, leaving me perpetually lonely and in pain. My longing to be treated as family went unanswered for 13 years, but I couldn't easily give up on the decision I had made. Enduring for 13 years in an attempt to make it work as a family, especially as Sam's mother, led to this regrettable outcome. A dry laugh escaped me as I contemplated this pathetic result. They never respected or accepted my feelings, never reciprocating the care I showed them. Now, when it's inconvenient for them, they hastily declare, "We're family," attempting to pull me back. The convenience of it all made me nauseous. Reflecting on my decision to endure for 13 years for these people, even feeling the responsibility as a mother, I regret not being kinder to myself. Could things have been different if I had been? Perhaps there was a future where Sam, Luke, and I understood each other, forming a happy family. But that possibility is now nothing more than a distant maybe. I no longer hold any expectations or trust in Sam or Luke, and even if they were to apologize now and express a desire to be a family, I would never consider trying again with them. Enough already. I am not their family anymore. I am a stranger treated as such for 13 years, and I have no intention of coming back. Impulsively, I spoke words I never would have uttered before. Unafraid of causing trouble, they flowed out uncontrollably. I couldn't stop them. "I don't want to hear your excuses. I can't trust anything you say anymore. I absolutely can't see us continuing as a family. Write up the divorce papers. If you don't want to file them, I will. So send them to me and leave the house quickly. You wouldn't want to trouble strangers, right? But stop making excuses and get ready. Give up. Goodbye." I cut off Luke even as he tried to say something because I couldn't bear to hear anything more from him or Sam. After expressing what I wanted, I hung up the phone. Ignoring Luke's pleas, I blocked all calls from him and Sam, even refusing to answer the home phone with my parents' permission. Finally, I managed to sever ties with a family that had made my life miserable for 13 years. They tried to reach me through friends, but I kept hiding, avoiding any contact with them. Eventually, the divorce from Luke was finalized despite his repeated pleas against it. He signed the papers without resistance when it came to court. The house, which belonged to my dad, was sold, and they had to leave. A friend informed me that after the incident with me, they started fighting incessantly. Luke's inability to manage finances resulted in Sam's college fees going unpaid, forcing Sam to give up his academic path and start working. Sam quit studying, and Luke quit his job in shock. They now live in an old apartment, seemingly withdrawn. While they continue to look for me, I have no intention of ever showing my face to them again. Meanwhile, I found a job and moved out of my parents' house. Drawing on my experience as an office clerk before marriage, I adjusted well in my new job. Soon after, I found a new place and thanked my parents for their support, moving out to a room in an apartment not too far from their house. In my new home, I am living happily now. Without good memories of my family, I've realized that being alone in this day and age is perfectly fine. I plan to live a relaxed life on my own,